is up? I'm the Kodiak, and today I'm here to talk about why was the Broncos' run game so bad in 2024. But before we get into it, I just want to mention a couple things. First of all, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. You guys have been absolutely destroying the like button recently and the sub count recently. I think I'm up like 50 subs within the past week or so. So let's keep it up. We're talking Broncos all season long. Drop a comment. Let me know how you think we can fix the run game in 2024. And then follow me on Twitter if you like what I have to say on here, at Kodiak Broncos. Let's dive right into it. So, the numbers at hand. So, somehow we were 15th in total rushing yards per game, but 24th in yards per carry. And before I get into anything else, I just want to say that if we do not have Bo Nix, these numbers would probably look pitiful. I actually calculated our yards per carry without Bo Nix's stats, and we were at like 3.9, which would have been good for second worst in the league. And we only had 5 games this year where the team was above 4.1 yards per carry, and 4 of those were early on. So those games were Tampa Bay, Jets, what else? First game, no. Yeah, first game against the Chargers, the Saints game on Thursday Night Football, and then the second game in the later half of the year against the Chargers on Thursday Night Football, where we ran the ball at will in the first half, and did not do it in the second half. So the worst yards per carry games were the Colts at 2.7, at Raiders at 2.9, the Panthers at 3.2, the Steelers 3.4, and at Chiefs at 3.4. So the craziest thing is we went 3-2 in these games, and that's a huge credit to Bo Nix. That's a huge credit to this defense. That's a huge credit to the rest of this coaching staff that we couldn't establish the run in any of these games, and still all these games were competitive, and we won 3 of them. Should have won 4. We should have won at Kansas City, but those were our worst yards per carry games. So ultimately, yeah, it's just not good. Running for 2.7 yards per carry against the Colts, who had by far one of the worst run defenses in the NFL this year. It was just bad. The leading rushers, this is where it gets really interesting. Javonte Williams, 542 yards. Jaleel McLaughlin, 494 yards. Bo Nix at 473 yards. So Bo Nix was about 70 yards, actually, yeah, precisely 70 yards away from being our leading rusher this year. And the rushing EPA, Javonte, negative 41. Jaleel, minus 9. Estime, negative 16. So this is practically telling us that our running backs cost us 65 or 66 points. And that's relative to league average. So if you can find somebody who could give you positive rushing EPA, that would be absolutely incredible. But unfortunately, our running back room, that showcases how bad they were this year. Now, I will say it's not all on them. Because what's to blame? Well, there's not one singular issue. Yes, we need better running back play, but all this I have listed is an issue. The offensive line, it is built to pass protect. Powers and Wattenberg, they're good in pass protection, but they're not good in the run game. We also have a lack of middle-of-the-field weapons, so we don't have a tight end. We don't have a middle-of-the-field wide receiver who can find the soft spots within his own coverage, and it doesn't force the defenses to play their hand. The defenses can just stack the box, and they don't have to worry about Adam Troutman running free. They don't have to worry about Nate Adkins running free or Lucas Kroll cooking them because, yeah, those guys got a few receptions here and there, but they weren't a big part of the offense. They weren't like focal pieces of the offense or anything like that. Sometimes the schematics and play calling were way too predictable. I can't tell you how many times we saw HB toss. I can't tell you how many times we saw just a run up the middle. I can't tell you how many times we saw HB draw. Would have really, really liked to see a lot more creativity in the run game this year. I think their biggest asset, the biggest missed opportunity when it came to being uncreative in the run game was Bo Nix. I know he got hurt in the last month of the year, but the first 11, 12 weeks or so, they should have used a lot more Bo Nix than they actually did. And the personnel usage and deployment has been extremely mystifying all year long. We'll get into all this. So better play from all the running backs. So you can say that the run blocking was not great, which is true. But yards after contact per attempt ranks. Javonte, 2.48, which was 83rd in the league out of 98 running backs. Jaleel, 70th in the league out of 98 running backs. So I couldn't find Estime. I think he's a little higher than both those guys. But yeah, true yards per carry. Javonte, 3.6. Jaleel, 4.3. Audric Estime, 4.0. Forced missed tackle percentage. Jaleel McLaughlin was our leader, and he was 33rd out of 98 running backs in the NFL. So you can obviously imagine with him being 5% higher than Javonte and 10% higher than Estime that those guys were really, really far down the pecking order as far as individual creation. And the vision just was not there all year long from any of these guys, and we did not make many guys miss at all. I actually would like to see us look elsewhere. Running backs coach, I don't even remember the guy's name. A Yenny. I would actually like us to overhaul our skill position coaches, all of them. But um, we just didn't have the fight, we didn't have the hunger, and we just didn't have the consistency there all year long. Now, what I will say is Tyler Bidet, he actually profiled pretty well with individual efficiency, but individual efficiency doesn't matter in this context because we are running off an extremely small sample. He only had one game where he was the lead back. He was supposed to be a focal point of the offense in week 4, then he got stretchered out, and then he got activated against the Bills but got 4 touches. So, yeah, the offensive line is built to pass protect. Now, crazy stat, you're probably not going to believe me, and honestly, I don't believe this stat either. I want to hear ESPN's methodology behind it, but the Broncos had the highest run block win rate percentage in the league. Once again, I don't believe that, but this was just something I found during my research that I thought would be notable. But the main run blocking problem I saw was Wattenberg and Powers, but particularly Wattenberg, and that's just going to come with being a young center. You may not recognize everything that the defense is throwing at you. You may not understand your assignment completely, and that's perfectly okay. This guy is a 5th, 6th round pick who, yes, was in the NFL for 2 years, so he had spent 2 years in the building before getting the starting nod. I don't know, maybe the moment was too big for him when it came to run blocking, but pass pro, he was awesome, so we didn't really have a choice because he was so good as a pass blocker that we couldn't sub him out. But yeah, I thought the rushing offense was better with Forsythe, and yeah. Bowles, Miners, McGlinchey, they're all plus run blockers, but Miners is the only dominant one. Miners is the only one where I'm just like, all right, if you have to choose a guy on the offensive line to absolutely bulldoze a guy on the D-line, I'm picking Quinn Miners. And in losses, they really had a tendency to get overpowered. The whole team didn't really play well in losses, but that was the difference between a lot of those games is that, in pass pro and run protection, they did not do that good of a job. Now, I'm hoping the situation around Powers and Wattenberg, adding a tight end, adding a middle of the field weapon will help them be better next year in the run game. And by the way, speaking of a lack of tight end or wide receiver, here's the deal. So we had no intermediate passing game. We had none. Like 10, 20 yards downfield was an absolute black hole for our offense. There's a reason that everything was either short or deep. And this did not keep defenses honest because they could just stack the box all day long in run situations. And you don't have to worry about Troutman slipping out and burning you. You don't have to worry about Kroll, mossing you for a contested catch or anything like that. Or you don't even have to worry about any yak threats on our team, coming from the tight end position. This was really contingent on Dulcich being the guy at the position. And then I don't even know what happened. I think he just played himself off the team because he looked so good his rookie year. And then apparently he looked pretty good in training camp. But yeah, not entirely sure what happened there. 12 and 13 personnel when you had 2 or 3 tight ends on the field. That was basically surrendering to opposing defenses that we were running. You could get an occasional play action here and there, but once again, they didn't really have to worry about respecting our tight ends as middle of field weapons. And Troutman, Kroll, and Atkins, they're all decent blocking tight ends, but they offer nothing in the receiving game. And I'm hoping they add a weapon or two to make this a healthier offensive ecosystem next year. Now, the scheme and personnel usage, Sean Payton did a great job coaching our offense, but he will have to be better in 2025 coordinating the run game. He'll have to be better coordinating our rushing offense because we saw too much HB toss, saw too much zone running for running backs with very limited vision, and I'm trying to think. So when I say too much HB toss, I'm talking about Jaleel McLaughlin completely bailed us out of a goofy call on 4th and goal from the 1 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Great play by McLaughlin, awful call by Sean Payton. What else? Javonte Williams, you just got to do better in 4th and inches. Same thing, HB toss to the right. And Javonte Williams should have extended out and gotten the play, but he didn't. And I just thought those were really bizarre calls either way. I thought we saw too much inside zone. I would have liked to have seen a lot more creativity. And by the way, not enough Estime in short yardage situations all season. So this really came to note for me in the Browns and Colts games. We would have like 2nd and 1, and we'd failed to pick up first downs because we weren't using Audric Estime. It suddenly, I'd blank, and then we were staring at 4th down. And I'm like, what in the world happened? And yeah, we had a bad short yardage game because we didn't have great running backs. But once again, I didn't think we had enough Estime in short yardage situations. So yeah, so many times it was a Javonte week, and then he'd get doghouse for 2 weeks. I was just like, oh, Javonte is washed. He's going to be absolutely nothing. And I think that errs more on the side of being correct. But occasionally he'd have like that 10 for 60 game with a touchdown, and you'd be like, okay, maybe Javonte's back, maybe he's finding his groove. And then he'd be doghoused for 2 weeks, and then you get one touch. And even in the games where he was, kind of doghoused and relegated, I still thought we saw too much of him. Against the Cincinnati Bengals, we did nothing all game for him besides throw him a screen pass in overtime. It ended up it was one of the calls that lost us the game. And by the way, if you're going to activate someone for a playoff game, stick to your guns. Do not just give Bidet 4 touches. I thought it was really, really weird. At that point, Bidet should have been our feature back, not Javonte Williams getting 7 carries and close to double-digit touches if you include the receiving work or anything like that. And Jaleel only getting 2 carries. It just didn't make much sense to me. So, yeah, all this was a problem for the Broncos. And let me know what you think we should do to fix it, because there's not one right answer. There's not one way we should go about it. But, yeah. So this does it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.